just wondering about that and how that works for all of you. How does the cartoon, what does the cartoons do and what does the
Well, we all came from comics first, so, and as you know, as you look around you, you may notice that there are very few kids here, and most of us are of a certain age. Some of you are delightfully younger, and hallelujah for you. But comic books matured and turned into a kind of a different, I mean, you can do any genre you want, and there are different kinds, of course, but I'm just talking generally, they aged up a little bit. Cartoons are clearly for kids. I mean, that's what, every time we get hired, it's like, look, we all like Spider-Man, we all know those Spider-Man stories. We need a cartoon that will make kids start to like Spider-Man, because there's not a good entry point right now. So some people would say, well, why did Spectacular Spider-Man go away, and I like the storytelling better, and da-da. It's because a 6-year-old isn't going to respond to that show the way they will respond to Ultimate Spider-Man. And then, being Spider-Man lovers, we go, okay, now we've got the kid part figured out, how do we also please the fans as much as we can? Because we like Spider-Man also. So the comics give us a way to get away from what is a very complex algorithm of trying to please a bunch of different audiences and go, I want to do a thing about art forgery. That episode of Ben 10 will not be approved most likely. But I can just do it anyway because Eric Stevenson is a cool publisher and will let us put out whatever at Image Comics. So it was kind of Joe Casey who beat the drum on that for us when we started the company, which is we got to keep the comics, got to keep doing stuff that's just in our own head, or else we're going to wind up turning into something we're not. Because we like cartoons, we love working on animation, but none of us were doing that before, so we didn't want to give up what we were doing before just because we became animation guys.
It's like creative counter-programming, to keep yourself sane.
After having said that, and I do agree with all of that.
See, Duncan says I correct him on that, but all he does is say, whatever Steve said, say the opposite.
You know what you are? You just have too narrow of a focus.
What? We're going to let them work this out.
No, when working on the animated stuff, these are, some of the stuff that we've been doing. Even with Ben, you will see references, or there's a certain tone that really comes from early Marvel comics. There is a kind of cosmic aspect to it. And we love that stuff. That was the stuff that we read as kids. That's the stuff that we wanted to bring into animation. And we weren't necessarily seeing it because a lot of the guys come in animation or come up through animation. Their reference points are very different. Their reference points are Looney Tunes or Hanna-Barbera. They have very specific reference points. Ours are Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, Neil Adams, those guys. And so when we're addressing these characters, we're addressing them with those as our reference points, and it's a great deal of fun.
Oh, good Lord.
Some hilariousness over there.
No, I actually just added a name to your list that we were talking about like 10 minutes ago. I knew it was.
So that is one of the things inside of the animation. It's kind of like getting to be a kid again and write the stories, but what we don't want to do, and Steve brought it up in the Spectacular Spider-Man, is those were the stories that were already told in the comic books. Those were almost